Rightio guys, so Dad wants to talk about tyres. Johnny knows nothing, I know bugger all. But Dad reckons he can bullshit his way through it. So take this with a grain of salt.
No, don't take it with a grain of salt, no. No, I've been a vehicle inspector for 40 years. And I've been in the motor game for probably 50 odd years, and it's very interesting, the technology that's in tyres that not everybody is aware of. And it's interesting to notice that every tyre tells a story. You just got to know what to look for. For example, if a tyre is wearing in the centre, it's because the tyre's overinflated.
Yes.
It tells a story. If the tyre is wearing on the outsides, it tells a story, and it is underinflated. It needs some air in it. Okay, or you've got a puncture. Now, Mark, what would happen, or what do you think the reason would be that a tyre is scalloped? It's not wearing evenly all the way around. Would you like to have a guess?
I would.
Johnny,
He's going
to have a guess, Johnny.
Yeah, he's going to have a guess.
Out of balance.
Out of balance, that's one. Can you think of another reason why it would be scalloping all the way around?
I know this happens a lot on front tyres on motorbikes. I see that. Craig had a BMW, and when we went across the Nullarbor,
Yep.
by the time we got back, he had all that scalloping happening. So,
It can also be your shock absorbers. If your shock absorbers are faulty, you'll get scalloping of your tyres. Now, Mark, if the tyre was wearing on one side, you got any idea what that might be?
yes, I do.
Apart from the fact that you haven't got your rosary beads with you.
No, you're just taking left-hand corners all the time.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
Oh, I like that. What do you think, Johnny?
On a car, wheel alignment.
Yes, wheel alignment. And perhaps with a motorbike, it might be a bearing problem.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Could be a bearing problem. Now, when you are looking at buying a motorbike and you come to the tyres, what sort of things should you look for? If you were looking at a motorbike and you come across the tyres and think, what do I look for?
So to say that these are good tyres, I'm not going to have to buy a new set of tyres for it. So obviously, tread.
Yep.
And then cracking. So
cracking, very important.
Yeah, I learnt that on this bike because it had good tread.
Yes.
But they failed it because it was cracking. It was too old.
Yeah, in Australia, there's no rule to say how old a tyre can be. In England, where Johnny lived for 15, 16 years, they have the 10-year rule, where a tyre cannot be any older than 10 years.
Oh.
But out here, the sky's the limit. So what you look for is vertical cracking as it goes around. Now, if it has got vertical cracking going around and the tyre's not all that old, it probably might be the tyre's been operated underinflated, for example, and the tyre is compressing. Now, Mark, do you want to grab a hold of your dog?
Yep.
So now, Mark, what does a tyre do, do you think? Do you know, Johnny?
Gives you grip.
Grip? What does a tyre do? What's its function, apart from going around?
Well, it's your only contact between you and the ground.
And God?
Yep. It can actually provide a little bit of suspension.
Provides a lot.
A lot,
And
does it?
a lot of people don't understand that the tyre is a very important part of your vehicle's suspension system. You know, to prove that, you overinflate your tyre and the suspension system is not working how it should be. The tyre is not being a compensatory factor for suspension. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's part of your suspension. Underinflate it, and your back wheel will be all over the road like a drunken sailor. Overinflate it, and it'll be hard as a rock. So that's the primary part of your suspension, and the next part obviously is your leaf spring or your shock absorber and your shock absorber bushes, etc, etc, etc. And that's probably the most important thing, apart from grip, of your back tyre or front tyre. Now,
can I just stop you there, Dad?
Can he speak?
He can.
He can.
Dad, we just did happy hour, and Dad said, can we talk about tyres. And me and Johnny looked at ourselves and thought, oh,
Who knows where this is
who
going?
knows
Who knows
what
where
the
this is
hell's
going?
on? But this is bloody brilliant.
Well, there you go. And it's not because I'm smart, it's just I made a lot of mistakes in my life. There've been a lot of very costly mistakes. And it's as a vehicle inspector, it's amazing what you see with regards to tyres. Now, Mark, what would you say was wrong with a tyre if you lifted the motorbike up and you started up and you spun the tyre, right, put it in first gear, and just spun it at idle, and when you look over the profile, the tyre's going like this?
Oh.
What do you think, Johnny, it might be?
Might not be correctly mounted.
Yes,
Oh, okay. So the bead hasn't all the way around.
the bead hasn't been taken up all the way around. What else, Mark?
Balance. I'll go for the balance. Out of balance?
Yeah, I suppose so. But I call it eggs in the tyre. The tyre has got eggs. Now, how often do you viewers, do you drive down the road and you see lumps of tyre on the side of the road, which the tyre has just simply exploded?
Like
Off trucks.
Yep.
Quite often. And the reason for that is it's the inflation hasn't been, is not correct. The driver has driven down the road fully loaded, doesn't know what's going on. The tyre says, I'm giving up, and just simply explodes. And what actually happens is that the tyre is not a solid piece of rubber. It's made up of laminations of steel wire and rubber and steel wire and rubber and steel wire and rubber. And that's where the word ply comes in. 6 ply, 16 ply, 18 ply, 4 ply. And what you get is tyre separation where these plies come apart. And I call it eggs in the tyre, which are actually quite dangerous if you don't pick it up, and that's when your eyeballs start to vibrate because you're going down the road like this, and you get this tyre separation. And if you don't address the issue straight away, there's nothing worse than a tyre blowing out. I don't know. Have you ever had a tyre blow out?
Not on a motorbike.
Now, Johnny is an ace rider on the road. He's been in the Tour de France.
So that's
No, he hasn't.
That's cycling.
Cycling. But you have ridden the Peloton.
In a peloton, yes, I've ridden
Yes,
in a peloton many
I've
a time.
ridden Pelotons, but he has ridden Pelotons. Depends on how much French wine you've had.
Yeah.
So he has actually ridden. Have you ever had a tyre blowout?
On a push bike, yes.
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 And is it quite traumatic?
It was, but I was 12 and we were riding through a drainway.
A drainway?
Yeah. And it was pitch black and my tyre burst and it was like someone shot at us and we all dropped to the ground.
So there's nothing worse than the tyre blowing out. Now, what can you tell me about rims? What would you look for in a rim when you go to buy that push bike or that that motorbike, and you're looking at the rims? What would you look for?
So obviously there's two types of rims. There's your, what do you call that? Your alloy.
Yep. Yeah, alloy rim.
And you got your spokes.
Okay.
So if I've got spokes, I'm looking for any dents in the main part, and then making sure that all the spokes are in, and obviously it makes a nice little tune noise. If it's on an alloy like that, I'd be looking for hairline cracks and stuff like
Hairline cracks, yes.
that.
And rust.
I'm going to
And rust, yeah. I suppose rust.
I'm going to let you both into a little secret.
All right.
This is a little secret that I've learnt over the last 40 years. What are the two ways of solving a problem with a motorbike or a truck or a car? What are the two ways that you can solve the problem?
Well, what's the problem, mate?
Any problem. Let's say the fuel tank leaks.
Yeah.
The bike's worth $500 and the new fuel tank is worth $1,000. What are the two ways that you can fix that problem?
Sorry, all I've got is zip ties and duct tape in my head.
Great. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Repair it, replace it.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So the first way is to bite the bullet and repair it.
yep.
The other way is to sell the motorbike.
All right.
You've fixed the problem. In other words, you've given the problem to somebody else.
Yeah, right.
And that happens so often. So often I inspect motor vehicles and there's a problem there. And you go, well, I know how this guy fixed the problem. He sold it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So somebody else has got the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's why you must look over the motorbike or any vehicle with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
And we live in an age where, with electronic engine management, the big thing now is to change the torque profiles of the engine and whatever else. And what really amazes me is the fact that Honda, for example, will spend 5 years designing a motorbike to give the optimum performance, and then some smart person who thinks he's smart comes along, chips it, changes the torque curve, and it's no longer any good for road use.
But can I say, I see what you're saying there. You're saying that Honda's really smart, they know what they're doing, they've set the bike in a certain way, and it doesn't need to be changed. If you change it, you're going to be detrimental to its operating.
Exactly.
The only thing that I see there is that they do that to pass emissions, and I think that's why a lot of people get the chipset, is because Honda, to get the bike to be sold in Australia, to get the emissions, they have to downgrade its power, whatever. So once you've got the bike, people go, no, bring back the power, we don't care about the emissions. So would that be true too?
And that's true too.
Yeah, right.
When I was probably 17 years old, I remember in my apprenticeship we went through the whole GMH down at Fisherman's Bend.
Yeah.
And I remember going through the drawing room. I remember this as clear as a bell. And being 16, 17 years old, you know, full of testosterone and all these great ideas, I remember saying to an engineer, I said, you know, why don't you make the inlet valves bigger and the exhaust valves bigger, and why don't you have flash points in the combustion chamber? You know, get rid of the quantum ramps on the camshafts and all this wonderful stuff. And he said to me, son, listen to me. He said, see this? It's taken us 5 years to design this, and you come along and you think you can improve it in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I never ever raised the subject again. But yeah. So, tyres. When you're pumping up a tyre, Mark, what's a simple little thing you can do to make sure that the valve's not leaking?
Put spit on your finger.
Spit?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea, isn't it?
It is pretty good.
You put a bit of spit on the valve,
Yep.
and if it doesn't bubble up, you know it's not leaking.
Yeah, exactly.
You know it's not leaking.
I learned that as a kid with a push bike. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And Mark, would you contemplate or have a go at changing a tyre yourself?
Yeah, I have. You blokes know that I've done that many a time.
Have you?
Very difficultly.
Yes. And how did you do it with your push bike? What tools did you use with your push bike? Have a listen to this. What did you use?
I was going to say spoons or...
That's right, the dessert spoons from the kitchen. We could never bloody find them. It was true.
Yeah.
True. And of course, we never had any bloody dishwashing liquid because that's what he refitted the tyre with. Okay, all right then. So, Mark, so you refitted the wheel after you changed the tyre because it had tyre separation, and you've refitted the wheel. How could you tell the viewers the best way to set the chain tension? What is your yardstick for setting chain tension?
Well, I don't really have a... Well, I just kind of like... Once I've put the axle back on, tighten it all up, I'll let it off the jack so it's sitting by itself. Yep. Then I move the chain like that, and if it moves about that much, it's okay. I always err on the loose is better than tight.
Yep. Why is that?
Because if it's too tight, especially when it's being an off-road bike, you'll break it. You can break the chain.
Yeah. Now, Johnny, being a man of much wisdom,
Yes.
much of life experiences,
Yes.
a man who's made many mistakes in his life.
Plenty.
You would have made many mistakes, wouldn't you?
Yes, I have.
How important is the chain guard on a bike? And why is the chain, if it is, why is the chain guard
Hey, how you doing?
so important?
You don't want all these fingers, do you?
Fingers?
Fingers.
Right. Well, there you go. Or the scarf around your neck.
Yeah.
Shoelaces get caught in it.
Yeah.
I think the chain guard, and that's the upper chain guard, the one that runs off the back, is basically just if you've got a passenger, it's just something getting caught in their straps and bits and pieces. There's no, it's not going to, if the chain breaks, Oh, it could. It would actually help a little bit.
They're not on motocross bikes, are they? Chain
No.
blades?
No, not on KTMs and that.
No. It's just a safety thing.
And one final point before we go, Mark.
Yep.
Explain to me about what you should use to lubricate the chain.
What you should use?
Do we use the fat that's left in the dish after you roast the chook?
You could use that.
Could you?
Well, if you've got a chain that is the O-ring chain, so the grease is there from the factory, and you're not going to get any grease into it. So the chain is already greased. When you're putting grease or whatever lubricant on it, it's just the outside is protecting the metal.
And not presenting the rollers inside.
No, it's not getting into it.
No.
So you could really use anything.
Yep.
There'll be a lot of people out there which will go up in arms and go, you must use this and you must use that, but put whatever you want. I use chain wax because it works really good with the off-road stuff. It doesn't stick all the bloody as much.
Now, the other important point about your wheel and your tyres and your spokes and everything else is the brakes.
Yep.
Would you say the brakes are important?
Yes, very important.
Right. So, let's assume we've got a disc brake on the rear.
Yep.
Okay. So there would be certain thicknesses for the rotor?
Oh, I suppose so, yeah.
Certain thicknesses for rotor. So when would you say that the rotor was worn out? What indications would there be that the rotor's worn out?
Well, obviously, when you see the outer part of the rotor and then it drops steps in.
A lip.
Yeah.
A lip, very important, yes. Very important, yes. And of course, when would you say that the brake pad, viewers, is worn out beyond its use by date? What thickness do you think?
I'll just say a match head, but I don't know.
Viewers, 2 match heads.
2 match heads. Oh.
Or the border on your bank card. 2. Remember that.
2 millimetres, is it?
2 millimetres. Okay.
They have that wear sound, so it'll start to make the sound in them nowadays. As soon as you hear that sound,
Yeah.
because it's not worn out at that point. It's not like they wind down to bare metal. They have something in there that makes a sound, so you know. Oh, it's like, I know they do in cars.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're called. It's a high tensile piece of tin that fits in your pad, and it's called a wear indicator. And as Johnny said, when it starts to scrape, that's when you know you've got to get your brake pads replaced.
What's it? Sing Dixie?
She'll be coming down the mountain when she comes.
All right, and on that note, that's it. We're calling that quits.
Goodbye, viewers.
Cheers. Keep on riding. And if you ain't riding, keep on keeping on.